Welcome to SML Total Access, the official podcast of the Sim Madden League. Now, here are your hosts.
Hello and welcome back to SML Total Access. I'm Primetime 000, and with me is my two hosts, Dan and Matt. What's going on, fellas?
Let's go. Time to go.
Almost playoff time.
Yep, time to bake the cookies, and let's start this off right. First down here on Total Access. Hey, the skill gap in Madden, sometimes brought up. Has the skill gap lessened over the years or even gotten bigger between players? And Matt, we'll start with you.
Yeah, this is an interesting question. I think it has been lessened, at least in the user aspect. So if you were a good user in prior games, you've probably taken a step back, especially if you haven't been able to adjust on other, if you weren't a good offensive player, but you could user your way to wins, if you didn't adjust on the offense. So I think it's lessened a little bit, but it's certainly not gone. I mean, there's a reason we see the same people winning all the time. It's not like every game is random it's still the cream's rising to the top, if you will. I hate to be cliche, but it really is. I really think the only skill gap that's changed is the user, and I think it's for the better because it wasn't fun with linebackers that could jump 30 miles in the air. Unfortunately, the Dan backers can, so in some situations it's still there. But I think it's a better game now that the user's been dumbed down, because you used to be able to cover. You could be on the right hash mark and you could almost recover all the way to the left hash mark if you saw a guy cutting open. You can't do that now, and I think it makes a better game. You can't be over pursue with your user. So I think it's been lessened, but it's certainly not gone.
Yeah, I agree with what Matt's getting at. Is obviously the biggest thing is the user linebacker has been nerfed. Actually, all linebackers have been nerfed. So it seems like it's a lot easier to pass, even though some still struggle in the SML of just making some easy reads, but it just seems easier. The other thing is the abilities have made it so that if you get lucky on an ability like Freight Train, Escape Artist, Gunslinger, you get some of those abilities that can make it really tough, and it doesn't matter what the user does because that ability takes over. So I think those two combinations, the nerfing of the linebacker and then just some of the OP abilities, puts the skill gap better. And I think what Matt is trying to get at is probably a good thought, though. Does that make the game overall better? I potentially, I agree with him. I think it does because, now, some of these guys that would quote unquote have the lesser skill have some realistic shots to make a run. And I think the more parity you have in a league, the better.
Yeah, that's a good points. I also think the skill gap has gotten smaller, and I think this started when MUT was created, which was it's been, 8 years now, probably. I don't know. EA kind of no longer markets the game to the quote-unquote hardcore Madden fans, even though you could make a case that the guys who are putting money into these MUT packs are the hardcore fans. But look, the MUT kids are the target audience. They're a younger crowd. So the game has to fit that younger crowd. So it's going to be easier to play, I think, in certain situations. For example, you run the ball, you call a run play, you press X, you hold up on your thumbstick. You're going to get 4 or 5 yards a carry if you just do that. Again, people reference this all the time. Some guy won some $1 million literally calling a run play every single time, like 2 Maddens ago. I think Madden has also always been animation-based. It's not some crazy physics engine. But I do think that people talk about the DDA and dynamic thing keeping people in games. I question if that's real or not, but you watch some games, you see some animations happen, and you wonder if EA or if the games try to keep games closer. That's a theory. That's a Dan theory. Now, again, I'm not saying this is all bad, because you look at users, like Matt said, change of direction's been added. The game plays better, I think, with users, but they haven't replaced that with anything skill-based. Like, they could have made it to where, okay, hey, if you're going to get a user interception, if you time it up right, you're going to get the pick. But if you don't time up the catch button right, you're not going to get the pick. They used to kind of have it say, bad timing or good timing. That's not even in the game anymore. So there's certain things they could still add defensively that would make a skill gap timing-wise, or when trying to catch interceptions or something. But that's no longer there. And Dan also hit on it with abilities. I think that, and this isn't a shot at Meats or NYT, maybe we're foreshadowing here a little bit, but sometimes I feel like we're going to be playing against the game more than we are against the user. Meats 2 or 3 Maddens ago with the Ravens, all these crazy abilities, NYT with the Cardinals. I feel like sometimes we're now playing against abilities in the games more than we are actually playing the user, and that's why I feel like the skill gap has lessened.
Yeah, let me jump in there too. I think if Madden would make, and again, simple, easy decisions, and Madden just don't seem to go together. But like you said, Prime, if they would have adjusted, like gotten rid of ball hawk, so actually make the user interception a timing base, I think that would be a huge plus. I also wish they would make the SWAT button a lot more of a good option. So it's a good option now, but it's like a safe option. I wish it would be like on drags, on slants.
Yeah.
I wish that SWAT button would actually, because that's what you see a lot in the NFL. You see a lot of, deflections. You see a lot of, breakups, pass breakups. I wish there would be more of that. And then you have to actually, almost like the pass option right now, you got to know when to possession, you got to know when to rack, you got to know when to aggressive. I wish the SWAT was a lot more effective in defense right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. Moving on, second down. Which NFL draft or team that's drafted do you guys think has you the most excited for, I guess, next Madden? And Dan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, this is always fun this time of year as you see these teams, that have had a bad kind of NFL team year, and then they load up and everyone gets hyped in the real season. Well, the same thing happens in Madden too. Now, obviously, we don't see the ratings, and obviously, certain speed, certain abilities will make things different. But I look at I think what the Jets did was really positive. I think what the Lions have done is really positive. I think the Ravens have loaded up. They were already a loaded team. Now they're pushing maybe one of the top 3 talent-wise teams out there. So I think, though, if you look at the Jets, I think if you look at the Lions, those are 2 really kind of maybe blank slate type teams that would be a lot of fun to build.
Mm-hmm.
I had the Jets down as well. What I look at when I look at Madden, the real life draft for Madden, who took impact players in Madden. And with the Jets, they took Sauce Gardner, probably going to be a superstar corner. He's like, 3rd overall or something. They took Garrett Wilson, wide receiver, going to be a stud. They took Jermaine Johnson, pass rusher, first round. These are all first rounders. Second round, they took Breece Hall, first halfback off the board. EA may give him some love, probably star. I don't know much about that guy. And then I also had the Lions. They get Hutchinson. He's going to be a superstar because he got all the press. He's supposed to be the number 1 pick. He wasn't. He's going to get superstar pass rusher. They got Pascal in the 2nd round. That's another DE. So the problem with the Lions was they didn't have any pass rush. They had Flowers, who was old and not that good anymore. Now they've got 2 young pass rushers, and they got a receiver as well, Jamison Williams. But I look at the Eagles. Because they didn't really have to do much, but they did, and because that team's already pretty good. They got Jordan Davis in the 1st round to pair with Fletcher Cox. They got that Georgia linebacker late, the Dean guy that kind of fell. He's probably going to be good, but they got the best player in the draft. They got AJ Brown. If AJ Brown was in the draft, he's probably the best player. So they got him. They got him for a mid 1st round pick, and yeah, that cap's going to be a little bit of a struggle, maybe because he got a 4-year, $100 million deal, but he's a young superstar wide receiver to pair with Devontae Smith, Miles Sanders. You got to figure out the quarterback situation probably, but Hurts is a good stopgap with the speed. So I like the Eagles as well.
Yeah, I like the Eagles. I like the Lions. For me, and this is very easy answer, but I got to look at the Cardinals, man. They're already loaded up, ready to go, out of the box. Great team. And then they add Hollywood Brown. They trade their 1st-round pick, and essentially take Hollywood Brown, who is a freak in Madden, and you pair that with Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins and Rondell Moore and Isabella or whoever else they got on that receiving core. That team is freaking loaded, for next Madden, especially with Hollywood Brown now in the mix. I think that's exciting, but Jacksonville, I think, is another team. They get another pass rusher, and you have Trevor Lawrence, who still should be superstar, probably, maybe. And that defense just seems like it's young, and it's going to be another headache for the AFC South So yeah, I don't know. I like the Jags and I like the Cardinals personally. Let's move on now. Speaking of the Cardinals, third down here on Total Access. NYT gets Freight Train. He's got Escape Artist. He's got Gunslinger. This team is loaded and ready to go. Matt, is NYT Super Bowl or bust? Is he a Super Bowl contender? What is he?
Yeah, I think he's got to make it. I think he had to make it before this. When you take the Cardinals, Kyler Murray's a Mutt quarterback. I'm sure if you went and watched Mutt or looked into Mutt, you would find that most people put Gunslinger and Escape Artist on their Mutt quarterbacks. Those are the two most powerful abilities you could have for a quarterback. They're two of the most powerful abilities in the entire game. Kyler Murray's the only quarterback, I think, with both. And so, yeah, you got Andy Isabella out wide. You got Rondale Moore, two speedsters, and then you've got DeAndre Hopkins, who's everything. And now he gets Freight Train, which in my opinion is the best offensive ability outside of Escape Artist. I've dealt with it many times with Chubb and Henry. It's incredibly powerful. He's got Isaiah Simmons. We just talked about the user being nerfed. Isaiah Simmons is the only linebacker in the game, well, one of the very few that kind of brings it back to normal a little bit with his speed and change of direction and height and all those kind of things. And you have to remember, Dump took this Cardinals team to the Super Bowl. That's how talented they are. Not a knock on Dump, but he's not exactly blowing the doors off of things. I know the NFC was a little bit weaker back then. The big shots were all in the AFC except for QP, who had a really poor Lions team that first season when Dump made it. But yeah, NYT's got to make it. There's no excuse. The NFC is weaker than the AFC. He's got Dan and Faz. Maybe they play each other, and then he's only got to beat one of them. But man, with that team, I don't care if you play them both. You can beat them both.
Matt, you're free to make fun of Dump. This is a free place, safe place for that. So don't pull any punches on that. Yeah, NYT is really good at using his abilities too. I think that's underrated a little bit, as we've seen some other players at times. Especially no Bean, no Freight Train, no handoff to Henry. NYT will take advantage of that. So not only is Minor Freight Train, but he's 95 speed Freight Train. So he gets out on the edge. He's got one guy to beat. He gets the free missed tackle, and then he's gone. Like, he's going to house that. So I do think this bumps him right up to the top of the line as far as the odds of coming out of the NFC. I think. I don't know if I put him as favorite yet, because he's still got to do it. There's still the user element of game management, clutch type of thing. The mental part of it. If something negative happens to NYT, will he lose it? But it puts him right into discussion, and I think it's a legit 3-horse race right now. Clink still might be there too. He might make it a 4-horse race. So NFC started to pick it up a little bit, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I think that NYT's always been a player who has had some identity issues, whether it's, hey, is he a consistent playoff guy? What is he? In early SML days, believe it or not, a lot of people say there was plumbers. NYT actually lost more games in the SML back in the day than he wins more now than he used to, which I don't know. Is it a skill gap thing? I don't know. But so he's definitely enjoyed more success with his Cardinals team. And now adding Freight Train, even if he isn't quite the same user or player as a Faz or a Dan, I think this might be able to push him over the edge. He's competed well against Dan already. He's actually beat Faz. He's beat the two top guys. I mean, I think he's got to make a Super Bowl. I think he has to with this team. We're going into meets territory with NYT a little bit. I mean, what are you going to do, NYT? You either gotta search yourself as, hey, I'm going to make the Super Bowl again, or I'm going to turn into meets. I don't know. This is his best shot. I know work's picking up. Hey, season's coming to a close here. I think this is his best shot to get that this season, because that Cardinals team's kind of getting a little bit older too, especially on defense, and I think Hopkins might be starting to regress a little bit as well. So this is really his best shot.
Prime, you think NYT wants any bit of that smoke? You think he wants any bit of that pressure? I mean,
no.
He seems like he wants to kind of float behind the scenes and then kind of sneak up on guys. What's your thought?
Yeah, he's going to listen to this if he does listen to it, and he's going to post some gif about me and you and Matt probably calling us all sorts of names. So yeah, he does not want it.
If you don't want the pressure, you don't take the Cardinals in the team draft. So no sympathy.
Oh, shots fired, Matt.
That's not holding back.
Oh,
that's not holding back.
All right, hey, let's move on to fourth down here. What remaining regular season games do you guys have your eye on? And Dan, what do you think? You're the regular season warrior.
Yeah, you got a lot of good, interesting matchups yet. I think most of the playoffs look kind of set because it looks like whether Paulie or Dump, I think, are going to kind of fade in the NFC. I think Bomber with the win over Monty, he's going to be okay. I mean, there's still some intrigue there. It won't be like last season, but I think there's still some good ones. I think Prime's got Clink, I've got Clink. Those are two good games. Prime's got Bomber. That's always a good game. NYT and Spooky are, as much as we're talking NYT right now, he still hasn't clinched the division, and they're in a nice battle there. Knowles Clink's heels for the division. DW is playing really well, and maybe can make a push to win that division out. So there's a lot of good races. The one seeds haven't been done, so I'm kind of keeping an eye on DW and I play. That's going to be a good game. Clink plays Prime, me. Those are two good games. Watching Spooky, NYT. I think there's a lot of still intrigue on how matchups and seeding goes.
Yeah, I looked at Bomber having QP and Prime his next two games. Those are just going to be good matchups, but they're important because Bomber, I think he's going to make the playoffs. Obviously, he's in a really good spot for that, but it's not a for sure thing. He's got Monty at the end of after those two games, so. Even if he drops QP in Prime games, he can beat Monty, and I think he would still get in. But those are intriguing games to me because it's kind of weird. We're this late in the season, and we're not quite sure that Bomber's in, even after the Dan win. And then, I'm looking at Meats. Meats has kind of, he had 4 losses, and he was kind of sitting pretty because Bean was, the closest one behind him with 7 losses. And there aren't very many games left, but then Meats goes out and lays an egg against RD. He was down 21-0 and could never get back. And so, and I think, looking at RD's record, he's going to fight you. He's a great Madden player, and he's struggling, but that was a game that I think Meats needed because look at Meats' next 3 games. Me, Dom, Faz. And if he loses all 3 of those games, he'll have 8 losses. And then Bean's only got 7, and he's got a much easier schedule. I think his only tough game is Knoll, I think. So Meats pressure's on after losing to RD. So that's kind of where I'm looking is all of Meats' games, not just one of them, but all of them.
Yeah, I agree about the Meats thing. He's going to have to find a way to win at least one of those remaining 3 games. And Bomber and Monty, I think we're going to assume Bomber's the underdog against QP and me. So that Monty game could be a game to look at. But for me, this is gonna be left field for you guys. Week 18, the Cowboys play the Eagles. Grams is on vacation. He'll be back on Monday. He'll return to play Faz. Assuming he loses against Faz, he'll be 0-16. So the last game of the season will be against Dump. Grams, can he get a win? Can he avoid the first 0-17 season in SML history? And I know Grams has a lot going on. He's got work. He's got vacations. He's, all sorts of things going on, really. But, and I know he's not quite as invested or maybe has as much emotional capacity into the game as he used to. But I know deep inside Grams is still a competitor, and he doesn't want that on his resume. So I look forward to seeing that game, and I want to see Grams have a throwback, retro game like, hey, you know what? I haven't been playing as good as I have been, and maybe I'm not quite the player I used to be maybe or whatever, but this isn't going to happen. I'm not going to go 0-17, and I'm going to prove that, hey, the old man still got a little bit left in the tank, and I would like to see Grams pull one out and avoid that 0-17 season.
And that could be for a playoff spot for Dump, depending on how he does the next few weeks as well, too. So a lot could be riding on that game for Dump.
Yeah, that's true. So it's just weird. Again, Grams, man, what a falling point. Last year he had the playoffs locked up, and then he drops on the field and Fig, and now it's just been It's just like he's lost like 18 in a row. I don't even know how many he's lost in this. It's crazy, really, but wild. Let's move on now.
Graham's
Go
used to
on.
be. Oh, one sec. I was going to say Graham's has kind of fallen into that. The user nerf. Man, back in the golden days of Graham when I played with him outside of the SML, man, that guy's user gave me fits. Man, he was all over the place with it. He was really good. Even when I joined in Primer, he was pretty good with it. I don't remember what team he had, but he was, and I think it's hurt him a lot. And this is not the Grams that I'm used to.
Yeah, I agree. He used to have this like bait and switch user where he would like kind of act like he was going one way, then cut back and pick you off every time.
Yep.
No, that's for sure. Moving on to the extra point here, aka the Matt 5. Matt, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I'm going to get a lot of flack here for number 5, and I welcome any discussion in chat if you're listening and completely disagree, thinking I'm biased or whatever. But I put Bomber.
This is just your top 5 teams.
This is my top. Sorry, this is my top 5 teams for that are currently in the SML right now, as of this week, as of today. So I've got Bomber, and I know Bomber's had ups and downs, but what I saw in his game versus Dan was vintage Bomber, and we said he didn't need to beat Dan. He just needed to keep it close.
Yep.
But he beat Dan, and it wasn't close. He dominated that entire game. The defense looked amazing, kept Russell Wilson in the pocket, kept Russell Wilson on his toes. Now he goes and he loses to DW the next game. So why is he in your top 5, Matt? Well, in that game, Antonio Gibson ran 23 times for 140 yards, and his quarterback only threw 10 times, DW's. Sometimes you just don't get sheds in the run game, and that can be a hard thing because you don't get the ball very much. Hell, I made a Super Bowl playing that way. So I'm not going to knock that. I think he just got a bad luck in Madden. So Bomber's in my top 5. I might eat my words come next week because he's got some tough games. But Bomber's at 5. Number 4 is Dom. Hey man, I feel bad because this guy slipped a little bit, and he didn't do anything wrong. He lost a close game to Faz, which is there's nothing. Nothing wrong with that, but I think Dom's a real competitor. I think the AFC needs to start paying attention to him. He went out and beat Dan too. So the AFC, this is your warning. At number 3, I've got Prime. Prime's kind of just starting to figure things out. Him and I played a sloppy game, but I should have beat you. You threw like your first 4 drives. You turned it over all 4 times. I couldn't capitalize. I could not figure out that pass defense. Really frustrated me because I thought I knew what I was doing and I couldn't figure it out. So I think again, I've said it before, you can do what nobody else does, and that's play defense. And I think come playoff time, that's going to really shine. At number 2, I've got Dan. Dan kind of rode the top spot for every time I did this season because no one could beat him. He dropped 2 straight. And so he's going to fall. I still think Dan's the favorite out in the South. I think mentally he's in Faz's. He's just living in Faz's head rent free. If Dan runs the ball twice, coward ball is what Faz is going to say, and that's how you've always been able to mentally get into Faz's head is by running the ball. If you have success, he gets frustrated. And then at number 1, I mean, sometimes some things never change. QP, just staying quiet, checking out early on 1st and goal. The guy kind of just does whatever he wants. If you haven't noticed, he lost that first game to DW. Guys hasn't lost since. And I don't know if you watched the Poly game. Absolute destruction. I mean, he didn't blow him out. He went 50-0, but it was like 21-0 in the third quarter. Poly could barely move the ball. He ended up getting a 2-point conversion, a score and a 2-point conversion in the second half. But that game was never close. And Poly was in the NFC Championship game a year ago, and he just ran into a buzzsaw, and QP just was like, I mean, it was like watching just a regular game. I kind of expected that to be a great game, and QP was just like, nah, this is just a tune-up. I got Bomber next week. Let me try a couple of things. So I think QP is just keeps getting better. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I guess unless Dan, do you want to chime in?
No, I would actually I would switch me in Prime right now. I think Prime's got a few more quality wins lately than I have. I think if you look at my quality wins were earlier in the season and maybe last 4, 5, 6 weeks, just nothing on the table that would put me at number 2. I think Prime should be number 2. But other than that, I agree. I think it's a good list.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out myself, Dan. First of all, I agree 100% with Q at 1. I think he's earned it. He's playing the best. He's the hottest. He's winning. He's margin of victory. I mean, it's all Q. I have been winning games, but they haven't been super clean wins. They've been a little clunky, a little sloppy. Their wins, I guess. So I don't mind it. I do play Bomber and I play Clinky back to back after two-step. It's important to me not only to win those games. I might rest my starters against Clinky, but it's important to me to at least beat Bomber and kind of do it in a nice, clean fashion. So that game's actually kind of a big deal to me. So we'll see how that one plays out. Just for playoffs, and I've been a little clunky, so I'm fine with number 3. I agree, Dom at 4. The interesting thing is no Faz on the list, and sometimes names kind of carry weight a little bit. But you decided to put Bomber over Faz. Where would you put Faz then?
Yeah, I was actually gonna say after you were done talking, I was gonna bring up Faz. I think he's coming along. I think the win over Dom is very impressive, but. I don't know. I need to see a little bit more from Faz. I would like that game against Dan, that second one, to have been a little bit more competitive. But the loss to Finns doesn't help him, and in the same way that it doesn't help me. I'm not on this list either. But I put Faz right there in that. And I think next week, if depending on what Bomber does, depending on what I do, I think Faz could probably be on this list at number 5. I don't know. Faz is just gets so mentally checked out sometimes. Even though he beat Dom, he was in chat raging over that game. I don't know. It's like Faz seems so mentally prepared when it comes to how Madden works, but once the game starts, he tends to just get a little frustrated and fall apart. And if he can center that and kind of keep it under wraps a little bit, I think he would see a lot more success. But he's right there. He's right there behind Bomber. Obviously, Bomber beating Dan, something Faz hasn't done. That obviously pushes him up.
I think that's a good point about Faz. Both the escape artist and the freight train stuff. I mean, it's almost like an instant trigger where I was watching that game and yeah, Dom moved around and there were some moments where I think Dom could clean up a little bit. But all in all, I mean, it's Mac Jones and it's the way Madden 22 has been playing all cycles. So for him to react the way that he was in chat, I do think reveals a little bit more of where Faz is feeling right now about his gameplay and his team. And I think he's got his own questions. So I think that's a good point, Matt.
Yeah, usually big reactions come from either some confidence or some pain or fear or the lack thereof confidence maybe. And I think obviously Faz, who's lost 2 straight Super Bowls, he's kind of struggling right now. Definitely not as feared as he was last cycle. This is kind of a big run here for Faz. We'll see how it kind of turns out. And again, he's used to 14-2, or I guess 15-2 type of seasons. And what is he, 9-5 right now? I mean, and no vacations this time. So I don't know. I don't know how to feel about Faz. I agree leaving him off the top 5 for now. But hey, I'm not going to doubt him either. He's still got potential. I gave him an X factor for a reason in the SML UT cards. So. All right, guys. Well, do you guys have anything else to say before we wrap this up?
No, Matt, I want to throw out an idea for you, Matt. Next week, I want you to start working on the cycle Power 5. I want you to start thinking about who you list as the cycle, because I think the first 3 might be pretty easy to rank, but then I think after that it's going to get a little bit more complicated on where you put some guys. And I think the last few seasons here are going to really have a big impact on the Power 5 for the cycle.
I agree.
Yeah, I like that. I'll note that down, Dan. I appreciate that. I've always been taking ideas. One of my ideas was top 5 Madden teams after the draft, but we kind of tackled that in the topic. But yeah, I love those ideas. For me, hey, home stretch, playoff time, baby. There's the bottom of each conference for the playoff race is juicy. I'm excited to watch it unfold.
There you go. That was Matt. That was Dan, and I'm Prime. Guys, thanks for listening to Total Access. Until next time, you guys have a great week. Have a good night and get fired up. Play well because the playoffs are coming, and you know how I feel about the playoffs. Everybody have a good day.